Well, let's get into it here. So, I thought today we would talk about change. And, we've talked about change before. It's not like it's a new topic. But I thought today would be good. Um, in part, we're kind of moving towards the kind of the ending stages. I don't know if it's the ending stage, but stages of this version of the COVID situation, and typically when there's the end of an event, of a major event, or the beginning of a major event, it has causes restlessness. And so I thought it'd be good just to just briefly kind of talk about change and about how we can be mindful of ourselves with change, and then help others be mindful of it. Because a lot of times we can get kind of swept up. So I'm gonna. I decided not to put any language around this, because this is right now like the perfect storm for change. So we have people that some people have been working from home, and being called back to work. The kids are being called back to school. And in the last year, of course, there's been a lot of change, like with Zoom, and people haven't been able to see family and all sorts of different things, right? So when you have the breakdown of your normal patterns, which is what we've experienced, it naturally presents change, and it presents kind of a natural restlessness that people have. And a lot of times, we can't really even identify what we're restless about. We just know we're restless. And that in of itself is fine, but when you start to feel restless and you can't kind of sort out what it is, that's a time to take a step back and say, well, okay, maybe I need to spend some time in silence or quiet or walking or whatever you do to kind of become introspective. But that's a really good time to go deep. And right now we are in this perfect storm where we're all kind of at some level or another kind of reemerging. And of course, the talk is, we got a vaccine or not. All these things, they're all new. And so it does elicit certain feelings in all of us, more or less. And so understanding change and how it impacts us, and how the change around us energetically can impact us, and how do we remain vigilant and resilient to make sure that the things around us that should have impact are having impact, and the things that shouldn't have impact are not having impact. And so that's why I kind of call this right now the perfect storm. A lot of energy is floating around. I'm sure you guys can feel that. Um, we're going to talk about why is change so hard. And some of this you guys will remember, we've talked about it before, but I think it's a good reminder right now. So change is hard, and it's because you have habits, and we develop habits over time. And when we habituate things, we continue to do them. And so, as this graphic is showing, well, if I want to change something, that means I've got to change my habits. Okay, you can't experience change and still keep your same habits. Now, we've all tried it. It doesn't work, right? So, if you want to do something new, you gotta replace the new thing with the old thing, right? So so the old has to go away, and you have to bring in the new. And that's one of the reasons why change is so hard, because I think a lot of times, again, we've all done it. Well, can I do both? Can I do the thing? Can I do the habit that maybe wasn't serving me as well, and still change at the same time? There might be like a brief period of time where they can overlap, but typically no. And so that's why change is hard, right? We've got to replace habits with something that's new. And the other reason why that's hard, right, you start getting to the science of it, is our synaptic connections. And we've talked about this months ago, and this is actually a picture of neurons, and the bright spots are the synaptic connections. So what happens is that every time we do something, everything we do, okay, even how I talk with my hands, all right, this is a synaptic connection. So right now, right, there's a synaptic connection for everything we do. and your neurons connect, and they connect through the synapse. And what happens is that the more you do something, the stronger the bond, or the stronger the synaptic connection is with the neurons. And you basically, and you guys have all heard language like this, you build a neural net, neural pathways, they're all the same thing. And so the more we do something, the stronger the neural connection is, and then the more likely it's going to be the behavior we default to. So when we talk about why is change hard, well, change is hard because, and I'm going to use a 4-week cycle. For some people it's more, for some people it's less. So, but I'm just going to, generally it's 3 to 6 weeks to either build or dissolve, okay, a habit, because you're either building a strong neural connection or you're dissolving a strong neural connection, right? So it might take, so if it's taken me 4 weeks to build a habit and I want to change, then correspondingly, it's going to take me 4 weeks to dissolve the habit. And that's why it's hard, is because we want everything like that. And when we're building habits, we kind of don't think much about it. When we're looking to dissolve habits, we notice it, okay? Like this is hard. Or, like I'm in the middle of this, whatever it is I'm changing, and I really want to go back to what I knew. Maybe not necessarily what I knew was good, it's just what I knew. And in your chemistry in your body, your synaptic connections in your neurons, and it gets into releasing all those types of endorphins and things like that, depending on what the activity is. But it's going to bring you back to what it knows, because you did. Okay, nobody else created this, by the way. You, through your habits, not being judgmental about them, but through your habits, you created a neural net, a neural pathway. And so because you created it, you're the only one that can dissolve it, right? Now, there's all sorts of neural pathways. I'll tell you one that I have is, so with like running, like I'll get into a habit. I just did it this morning. I walked about 3 miles yesterday just as kind of to loosen up my legs, and I ran. I did a speed workout this morning for 3 miles. All right. The problem for me though is that I'll get into like this 3 mile cycle. Like I'll keep just doing 3 miles, 3 miles, 3 miles. Now I might do an incline or I might do speed. I don't typically do like 3 miles just flat, at one speed. But when I do that though, what I'm not setting myself up for is when I want to go outside and do a long run, I'm not setting myself up for, 4, 5, 6 miles, right? And I have to be mindful of that, because my body gets into that habit of 3 miles. Doesn't matter how I do it, it just gets into that habit. It gets into the time, right? Like your body recognizes time, like how fatigued you are 10 minutes in, 20 minutes in, things like that. So again, habits are not necessarily bad. There might be something that you're doing really well, but you want to get better at it, and you're going to have to change your thinking about that. So just remember, you created the neural connection, so only you can unwind the neural connection. And like we were talking about, it just takes time. It just takes time, and we're in a society that values things that are done quickly. And if it can't be done expediently, then maybe it shouldn't get done. I think that's just how we've all been wired. I always kind of marveled, when I was old enough to make the connection with TV dinners. My parents would go out on the weekends, and I'd get a TV dinner, and I'd stare at it. I'm like, well, what is this thing? Right? But it was fast, right? So you have to remember that one of the reasons why it's hard is that it takes time. But we're also in a society that doesn't really recognize that. And so you have to recognize that and not get frustrated and be patient about it. So change kind of the core of it. Now we talked a little bit about the science and why is it hard, and building or dissolving synaptic connections. But at the end of the day, um, change is an inside job. Change comes from the inside. Now, often, and I think especially, in this kind of materialistic society that, again, we're in, I'm not condemning society, I'm just saying this is what we have, is a lot of times change will get interpreted, if I change the outside of me, that changes the inside of me. And now there's certain cases, where maybe you get a new dress, or I get a new sport coat, or something like that, and I feel good kind of in the moment, because it looks good on me, or I like the color, or whatever the case may be. It helps me identify with some vision of myself, whatever it is, right? But here's the thing about it, is that we have to resist the temptation that short-term external change, okay, brings to us, because short-term external change has nothing to do with long-term internal change. Okay, so change is literally an inside job, and we really have to resist. If I do this, or if I buy that, or whatever the case may be, right? Is that really giving me the internal change that I want? Or am I better off having the internal change, so that whatever I'm doing externally, okay, is a bonus? That the external change I'm making isn't misinterpreted as being able to create a long-term internal change.
It's the coffee pot.
Okay. So apparently we have agreement here. We'll say that's a vote of confidence, right? So yeah, and I just want to say that one more time, right? Because I think it's important in this society that that external change, don't get confused with external change and internal change. Change the inside first, then the changes you make on the outside are all bonus. Okay, but don't think that if you change something on the outside, that it's going to really impact you on the inside, because it's not. I always have this rule, and I got this rule from when I was younger. I wish I used it more when I was much younger, in my teens and early 20s. I try not to do anything that's going to make me happy for only 15 minutes. It's a pretty good rule, actually. It's not my rule. I actually got it from somebody else. I wish I knew that when I was like 18 or 19. That would have been like super helpful. But anyway, so think about that. Internal change, then the externals are a bonus. The external change has got nothing to do with making you happy on the inside. Isn't going to work. So change is an inside job, as we said. That's one of the tenets that I use a lot. That change is an inside job, and you have to, as we're going through change, we have to disassociate ourselves with the habits, the people, and the activities that are not aligned with the inner change. Now that's hard, because there are people that we have to disassociate ourselves. If we want true inner change, we have to disassociate ourselves from people, places, and things. Okay, it doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean that you didn't enjoy them while you're having the relationship. You're not being disloyal. It's just sometimes you need distance from certain things for you to be able to find your own path. And how do you get yourself in alignment? And we're going to talk next week about integrity, but we're going to talk about integrity in terms of alignment. All right. So there's a reason why, if you have a substance abuse problem, they tell you, well, you can't hang around with your substance abuse friends. Okay, makes sense, right? Right. So there's reasons why. So there's reasons why, for instance, it's good to go to a gym, because you're hanging around, or yoga class, or whatever the case may be. You always want to be hanging around with the people or the places, or the activities that have what you want. Okay, or what you're angling for in your goal, and start to put some distance between from the ones that don't necessarily share the same view, right? And I know I've mentioned this book before, but Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza. This is a great book. And if you've read this book before, read it again, because it will really help you understand a little more science too in it, and some good practices, best practices. But it's a great read. And again, this is one of those things. I probably listen to this once a year, because it just, every time I listen to it, I pick up something different. So, all right, let's see what we got for um, let's see what we got for chats. Yeah, Bill, hang around the barbershop and you'll get a haircut. Yep, yep. Um, yeah, it's interesting. You hang around with you put yourself in an environment where you an environment that matches in frequency and vibration, right? The term, well, that person's got a good vibe, right? Well, that's short for vibration. I'm sure you guys all know that. And so, right, you want to put yourself next to people or with people who have a similar vibration than you, or the vibration you want to have. And that's like a whole nother thing, you know. Even though you don't have that vibration now, you want to be you want to be around the people who have the same frequency and the same vibration. So, yeah, excellent comments. Yeah, Christine, change comes within. Yeah, not from without. The without piece, the problem, the thing about it is we've all done this too. So nobody gets a pass on this. This is like, this is like being on Earth. Nobody gets off this planet alive. Is that we've all done it. And there's times, right, where you buy something and it kind of makes you feel good, or that's fine, right? It what's not fine though is when we pretend it's going to do something deeper. But that's the part that we have to be that's the part that we have to be more mindful of. So, yeah, Lucian, slow is fast. Well, I'll tell you, that's a lesson I've had to learn. That's a good one. Yep, Susan. Yeah, it's not how you act, it's how you react. Yeah, yeah, excellent. Yeah, good stuff. So, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, great book on audio. If anybody does Audible, and of course it's on Kindle and all that stuff. But I would really recommend that, and think about the changes you want, and putting yourself in alignment with those changes, right? And making sure that you're in alignment with them, as much as you can. People, places, things, activities. So, all righty. Well, it was good to be with everybody, and have a great week. And we'll see you next Monday for Integrity. Take care.